We live in a scary world. Scary and fun. We're gonna go through my list here of symptoms. Unfortunate bipolar disorder symptoms. I say unfortunate because to the regular people, to those, with no issues with the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex and, those people that just get to live and be normal, they see things like this as like a huge hinder. So,
because it's the juice. And if you don't have the juice, you don't have it. So if you don't have the juice, you can't capitalize.
Fill the room with the juice. That's a lot of loot. That bit fire. Yeah, she kinda.
okay. Beautiful. Normally, I do this part off camera, but I just had deep cleaning and none of you are about to ruin how clean my teeth are right now. Okay. I had a very big bag of Oreos last night. I need to stop getting out of this habit. I don't know if I'm Amberlynn Reed or what, but I have been snacking hard lately.
Is it Zoom? Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's creepy. Anyways.
It is so bad. Like, I get that I'm small right now, so I feel like I can do it, but it's like, dude, I gotta chill with that. Okay, now that that's done, today's video is going to be about more of those pesky bipolar disorder symptoms that people don't even realize are symptoms. I did make a shorter version of this video on my main channel. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put this on my main or my second channel yet, but I slept in my makeup last night, which I would consider another symptom of bipolar disorder, in my opinion, because girl, what are you doing? But anyways, besides the point. So I'm gonna wash my freaking face now, and after I'm done washing my face, we're gonna go through those symptoms. I'm going to go through a lot of them. I don't even know if I'm gonna have a number yet. So bear with me, let's get this face wash real quick. This is what I'm using for those that care. I woke up thinking like, oh, I totally washed my face. And then I started rubbing my eye and I was like, oh my God, I didn't. I didn't. Good old Urban. I done got a whole bunch with my nail there. I got my nails done yesterday. And I wanted to do black just because I'm like, I don't have time to keep up. You know what's funny is I remember when I would be like, why didn't you remind me to wash my face? Like, you're my boyfriend. You're supposed to remind me. And now I'm just looking back at that moment like, yeah, my bad. My bad. Like, I totally get it. It's obviously my fault. You are not in control of if my face gets washed or not. Oh my goodness gracious. The way relationships are just hilarious when you look at them after they're done. They're hilarious. They honestly are. This is the one I'm using. And the reason I say that this is a symptom of bipolar disorder is because I believe that self-destruction is a symptom of bipolar disorder. And the self-destruction can creep in before you even know it. Like before you even know it and you're just like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? At least that's my experience. So with my washing of the face, because people would not see that as self-destruction. But if somebody is struggling with their disorder and they do this for, I don't know, a year of just like not caring about their skin, whatever, at some point the people closest to them will realize, hey, have you noticed so-and-so's skin like doesn't look as good as it used to or whatever. And that would be another example of self-destruction, as well as not cleaning, the house becoming a mess, and I would consider this like light self-destruction, but it's still something you can notice and you can fix in other people or help them, But of course, that's if you're even close to somebody with bipolar disorder. I don't really let people get close to me. You could ask any of my friends. I don't really let people get close. So I feel like it's different for people who, whereas I cannot see you for 6 months and you're going to be like, I haven't seen Pearl in forever. Like, what is going on? And it's just like, yeah, I'll see you when I'm better. I don't know when that's going to be, but that's when you're gonna see me. It's so weird. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it has to be better to my standards. If it's not better to my standards, no, I'm not gonna see anybody. Okay, let's go make our coffee. Really what I need to do is put a scrub on. Like, I need a scrub on my lips, but I'm thinking it should probably wait until I'm actually in the shower so they can soften up a little bit. It's normally where I do them at, but either way. Let's go make this coffee. Another symptom. Again, there's a reason for my madness for this video right now, if you're wondering. It's because I've seen a lot of those videos. Another example. But I want to show like real-time symptoms, such as what just happened, which would be considered moving way too fast, doing too many things at once. Again, another symptom. As I make this coffee, we're gonna go through our symptom. Let me just tell you this hilarious story. So before I started filming, another symptom. I now feel the need to clean this, even though I obviously was about to tell you a story. See what I mean? Okay, so I had a onesie on last night, right? And my onesie, I didn't have it on all the way. I had my onesie on halfway, and I went to the bathroom this morning. I get out of the bathroom and I'm looking in the mirror, I'm washing my hands, whatever, and I'm like seeing this water on the floor and I'm just, what is this water? Like I was looking up on the top, I was like, dang, like why is there just this random water? I dried my hands, there shouldn't be random water, like why am I stepping in water? 5 minutes goes by, I still don't know why there's so much water. And then finally I'm just like, ugh, whatever, I can't figure it out. I cleaned it up, don't know where the water's coming from. I try to put my onesie on and this arm soaking wet. It was in the toilet the whole time that I was in the bathroom. So I'm lounging around, pee, shit, who knows what I'm lounging around, and I'm just trying to figure out where is this water coming from, and it was because of my arm of my onesie was in the trash. Well, not the trash, but considerable trash. But yeah, in the toilet. And I had to put the whole onesie in the washer, obviously. I couldn't wear it. So now I'm like really, really cold because my onesie. And I tell this story because another symptom, attention to detail. And not to say that this can be for everybody, because there are some people with bipolar disorder that do not have a problem with paying attention to detail, but depending on where their levels are, for example, if they're like super, super depressed, it's going to be harder for them to care about details. And then if they're like really, really manic, then they're definitely not going to see those details. And then if they're like hypomanic, then they may be able to kind of like balance out those details. And then if they're just like in their regular state thinking like, I'm not depressed, I'm not manic, I'm just like who I am right now, then you definitely are going to most likely miss a lot of things and have issues with attention to details. So that was one of those moments. I'm literally just like, where's this water coming from? What's going on? Like, very, very important reason why I started this video this way, because things happen all the time, every second, every day. And for me, I notice these things. I have had therapists and psychiatrists and counselors and all these other people that I've talked to throughout my life notice certain things. And so when I come across somebody who hasn't noticed or doesn't know, I'm like, oh my God, can we talk? Especially when I'm talking to somebody that I've known for years that has bipolar disorder, having those conversations is wow, because most of those people really know who they are and they know when things are up, when things are down, and when things are like, ooh, I need some help, you know what I mean? Whereas some people that have just been diagnosed or have never been diagnosed have no idea, and they still consider it just their personality, their quirky personality. Anyways, back to my coffee. You don't want to know what your partner is like on a lot of caffeine. I need to know what that looks like. I absolutely need to know, because if I don't know, I'm gonna just think you're strung out on something else. Especially if you're one of those like crazy coffee people that's like, oh my God, it has to be this amount of coffee and I have to grind up the beans myself, and oh my God, that's instant coffee, gross. Like if you're one of those, I need to see you sober and I need to see you on your favorite cup of coffee. Absolutely I do. We're gonna go through my list here. Another symptom, I like to change my mind a lot. I do change my mind a lot. It's unfortunate, but you know what? I think it works. Another symptom, justification. Okay, let me stop. Let me get into the real list here. Okay, so obviously in my last video about Selena Gomez and of course bipolar disorder 1, I talked about a couple of the symptoms that I noticed just within her behavior throughout the last couple of years that were bipolar disorder symptoms in my imagination. I'm no doctor, I'm no psychiatrist, but obviously I have an intensive amount of knowledge within this sector of the world because obviously I was diagnosed with it in 2018. I'm gonna go through a couple of these symptoms that I just know are symptoms, regardless if a doctor is there or not. They just are, and that's that, in my opinion. So, number one, and I think we're gonna go through like 14 or 15, so bear with me. So, number one is the lack of impulse control. This is an unfortunate part of the disorder because there could be situations where it's just like, I've already made my decision and that's that, and then something sways your decision and then you're just like, okay, you know what, let's just do that instead. And that can definitely get you in some risky and unfortunate situations very, very quickly. But if you're able to recognize that, I think is number one. You have to recognize like, okay, what I'm doing right now is pretty impulsive, or what I'm doing right now is pretty risky. Normally when I'm about to do these certain things, I know for a fact like I'm never going to do it again. Meaning I'm gonna do this, but I'm never gonna see this person again. Or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna literally lock this in a vault and no one is ever gonna talk about it ever again because I'm never gonna revisit it. It's never gonna be something I'm gonna talk about because it was something I did in an impulsive moment. In my mind. That's why there's certain people that I could just look at and act like I never ever met them. That sounds so terrible. But impulsivity, not the best symptom to have, but very much needs to be recognized. I think people will see it as like, oh, that person took 3 shots. Oh, that person is just like really goofy and happy and funny all the time. No, there are certain things that are just impulsive. You wouldn't do it. A normal person wouldn't do it. Number 2 is when you have a really bad crash. So this would be, they call it like the bipolar disorder crash, I think. Basically, it's like after you're manic or hypomanic, and then you crash and you basically can't sustain that mood that you were in. I don't really like to call it this because I consider a crash like depression. I consider it like the lowest of the lowest. I don't consider me going from like euphoria to, you know, just chilling and like just a regular kind of like mood state. I don't consider that a crash. It will still be considered that to the medical aspect of it, obviously, because you're changing moods. But for me, I don't consider that a crash. I consider a crash where I'm eating, I'm not showering, I'm not talking to people, like when I'm not leaving the house. Like if I haven't left the house in over like a week, I consider that a crash. Very much a crash. But of course, this can be something that can be seen in different ways depending on your level of mania. What you do when you're manic is also a very, very important factor. Like if you're a manic, actually let me reword this. If you have been through mania and you don't have an outlet for that mania, meaning your outlet is vices, whether that is going out, drinking, smoking, having sex, like all of that, it's not gonna be a pretty road. It's not gonna end nice. I think men get away with it easier, but their outbursts are way more dramatic case because their situations can go into like car accidents and anger, like super angry, like control, like fighting. It can get into like certain areas that an easy legal situation can pop up when it comes to men. That's just my opinion though. I could definitely be wrong, but that's because I consider after mania, that crash does bring in irritability. That irritability can move into anger really, really quick when you're not a female, in my opinion. And that's just because obviously women are more compassionate, whereas men can easily go from irritable to freaking anger very, very quickly because they didn't have that teeth. Okay, why do I feel this way? Let me calm down and all of that other stuff. There's gonna be men that do have that, but this is just me speaking generally. Anyways, let's move on. Fear of depression returning back. I consider this a symptom because I only notice people with bipolar disorder with this symptom, at least those that, I should say, people who maintain their depression or care about maintaining it. I've noticed this in them, their fear of depression returning back. I used to have this fear, and if anything, I still have this fear, but it's in a different way now. Now it's more so like, how do I make sure that depression doesn't come back? That's really where it's at. How do I make sure that that does not come back? Whereas it used to be, oh my God, it's gonna come back no matter what. And now I feel more optimistic with certain things such as like eating right and drinking water and exercising and all these other things that can really like help your depression. But again, there are some people that are just like, I believe that I need to take a pill for it to work, and I get that, but it's like, I think you need to like really figure out if you want to be on medication for the rest of your life. I think that's one thing you have to like, is this worth being on medication for the rest of my life? That's also another conversation you have to have with yourself, your family, and hell, the mirror, if you know what I'm saying. Next would be anxiety and uncertainty. And I consider this kind of like a little pocket with control, because if you don't have a sense of control within that, that is when the anxiety and the uncertainty is gonna like heighten. It's gonna keep going higher and higher. So for me, I just feel that there are times where I don't want the uncertainty because I want to know the outcome. I want to make sure that what I think the outcome is going to be the outcome. And if the outcome is not that, then that is going to raise my anxiety. Do you see how they all kind of like they all kind of go together? There are some people out there that can just have anxiety, but I feel like if you don't get a hold of it early, it can turn into other things. And then before you know it, you're somebody who has like an issue with control. And then you have an issue with like wanting to know how things are going to turn out. And if things don't turn out the way that you wanted things to turn out, your whole world goes spinning into like some hole of destruction. And anxiety and uncertainty definitely is a symptom. If anything, I will lock in paranoia in there as well. Okay. Because you're going to get paranoid because then your anxiety is going to go up. You see how it just all goes together? This is why when I meet somebody that's like, oh yeah, I was diagnosed with anxiety, and you know, and then they just kind of like don't say anything else, I'm like, okay, so you hiding things over there. You're hiding things over there, and that's fine. Continue hiding if you need to, but at the same time, it's like you need to get a hold of that, because that was me. I was like, oh, I have anxiety. This is weird. And then if you don't get a hold of why that anxiety is there, it will just turn into more disorders very freaking quickly. Anyways, this is actually something I explained in the beginning of this video, but again, indirectly. So that would be trouble concentrating and racing thoughts. And when I say this, because I think everybody's like, well, everyone has racing thoughts one day or another, right? But no, this is to a level where you cannot sleep. You have to medication. Personally, me, I'll actually, yes, let me put myself on the chopping block. I personally have to take medication for this part. There's no bone in me that thinks I can handle this myself. And I'm going to tell you why. I personally have a huge issue with rumination. There are some people who don't even know what ruminating is. They don't even know what it looks like on like a really bad level. And basically, you have to be on an antipsychotic if you want to get control of this part of your disorder, because my God, the way your brain will just keep going and going and going and going to a point where it's like it's not even yours anymore, okay? It is just thoughts, and you have to get a hold of it. I mean, yes, you can with like meditation, not medication, I meant to say meditation, exercising, working out. But for me, I'm not gonna lie, medication has been the best for me. If it gets to a point where it gets bad, I'll start taking those antipsychotics before I go to sleep 3 days in a row, and boom, I'm pretty much back to where I need to be. And that's not really how they should be used. You have to use them consecutively for them to work. But I think because I've been on them for so long, I kind of know when it gets really bad. But it's been a while since I've been there. It's been a very long time. But it can get there, and those racing thoughts are the worst, because you're not going to be able to concentrate on things that are needing to be concentrated on, whether that's bills, work, your child. It could be anything. If you can't concentrate, if you're having issues concentrating on that because of these racing thoughts, like, you're already putting yourself in harm's way, as well as the people around you. So it can become really, really bad if you don't know what it is. I think some people will see it as like, I keep thinking about this, I keep thinking about that. But that's nothing. It can get even worse. It can get to a point where you're literally not even in control of your brain anymore. It can get pretty scary. But again, talk with your doctor about these medications if you do choose to get on medication. If you've never noticed your rumination, I'm very glad if I'm the person that helps you realize it, because it is something that is very hard to catch, especially if you're not somebody who journals or, looks or tracks your thoughts or your moods or things like that. If you don't do that, it's going to be very hard for you to get control of it. Another symptom. That noise is driving me insane. Like, I know closing the door is not going to do anything, but oh my God, that noise is driving me insane. Restlessness and feelings of euphoria and accelerated speech. And the reason I'm putting this all together is because the restlessness is really conjoined with the high energy. That high energy is there due to the euphoria, and then the accelerated speech is there, honestly, because of the excitement. So for me, I feel like they all go together, whereas somebody who is diagnosing me or going through my symptoms is not going to put these together because they're not me. They don't know what clicks, what doesn't, what, they're just going to go off of, just things that they're seeing. And so this is really like 4 different ones, but I'm putting them all together because I feel like that's where it comes from. So I'll feel restless when I have been like just running. But why am I running? I'm running because like I feel like I can do anything right now. The feeling of euphoria, the extreme happiness, overconfidence, like, okay, I can go do this, let me go do this, let me go do it. Like, for example, I'm moving my apartment right now. Like, I'm just moving like my personal things that I don't want movers to touch. And I've done so much that some people, for example, I met a man at the storage unit and he was like, why are you doing everything so early? Like, you have so much time. And I was just like, yeah, I just want to be ahead of the ball. I want to be ahead of the game. And I left it at that. But I got into the car and was just like, yeah, he is not lying. Like, I really am doing a lot. Like, I don't need to do this much this soon. Again, accelerated speech, restlessness, high energy, overly confident, all of this comes together. Now, the accelerated speech, I feel like I only notice the accelerated speech if I'm editing. So you can have accelerated speech in the moment and not realize it with this disorder, which it's happened to me many times. And so when I'm editing, I'll realize, oh, I need to slow down. Or actually when I'm talking, for example, I'll stop or pause, or I'll do certain, or I'll say what I said again. But you watching doesn't realize this. I'm editing it out. And so the reason I say that is because I think that there are some people who have no idea that this happens with anybody that puts their face on a camera. So if I say something wrong, I will just say it again. So here's an example. I really didn't understand why. Do you see how I just like said it again? I basically will be editing and I'll cut that out and use the frame or verse or sentence that sounded calmer or more normal or more regulated opposed to the accelerated speech. That is why I wanted to put all of those symptoms together, but they are all separate. Just keep that in mind. So for the person that is not dealing with this disorder, you will be able to notice the restlessness, the accelerated speech, high energy, the euphoria, the extreme happiness, and the confidentness separately. But understand that they kind of all go together as one in the mind of the bipolar disordered person. Next symptoms: poor sleep, impulsivity, which we've already talked about, and risky behavior, which we've already talked about. But the reason that I put those there with poor sleep is because what I've realized is if you don't have good sleep, okay, so if you're not on a routine where you're getting a good 6 to 8 hours, and I say 6 now because I used to be that 5 hour, used to be the 5 hour person that's like, no, I'm fine, I got my 5 hours, I'm fine. But I've realized that if I get over 6 to 8, I am able to make better decisions. If you have poor sleep and you deal with anxiety, depression, even bipolar, it doesn't really matter. Any sort of mental disorder, in my opinion, if you get poor sleep and you're not tracking your sleep, and I'm not saying like, oh, I went to sleep at 3 o'clock and then I woke up at 9. No, I'm talking like when you woke up, how did you feel? Was it a deep sleep? Was it a light sleep? Do you feel like you need to sleep another hour? Like, are you tracking all of this? Are you writing all of these things down? You need to write them all down if you want to be kind of like your own doctor and really figure out what's going on. Obviously, you shouldn't be your own doctor, but this is me telling you after years of really trying to figure out what the heck has been going on since at least high school. So I knew I was misdiagnosed, but that doesn't mean that you know that you're misdiagnosed. So if you can track your sleep, you're on the ball. You're on the ball. You're on the ball. You're on the ball. I think that's like number one. I hate when I get around people that don't understand that I need to sleep. When people don't understand that I need to sleep, I'm like, ooh, I need to go regulate my mood. And that means I'm protecting you. Some people don't get that. They'll see it as like, yeah, so-and-so just disappeared. Like, I don't even, it's like, no, I didn't get enough sleep. I need to go regulate. Another symptom, music obsessed. Now, not every single person that's obsessed with music has depression or has bipolar disorder. No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is there's a certain obsession with music to a point where the person with bipolar disorder will feel connected to said music in some way. It could be like one line. It could be like, oh, well, this line goes with this. Or it could be like, oh, yeah, the rest says my mom's name. Something kind of off, kind of weird, something random. That would be something that I would consider a symptom to said disorder. So what's another good example of this? Let's say you're listening to a song and somebody stops everything they're doing to show you this song or tell you about a time in their life with this song, or some sort of like explanation. The justification behind it is stronger than, oh, I like this song. Overcompensating for music, going above and beyond for music in different ways. And again, this isn't just you, right? So yes, you can be like obsessed with music, but let's say you're around other people, or you're observing what other people dance to, how they dance, what they like dancing to, what they like listening to, or even just like checking somebody's playlist out, like just to kind of see like, okay, what kind of music do they listen to? Stuff like that is way more prone into the bipolar disordered mind, or at least depressed mind, than anything. And I think it's because there's a certain tie that people have with music, especially those that are depressed, that when they're interacting with other humans, they want to make sure that that is there so that they can kind of have like some sort of connection that's kind of unbroken. Like it's something you can't really break, because it's like, we already had that moment's already there, and that's it. It doesn't really matter, you know, if, for example, if you hear a song that you loved back in the day, but you're not with that person anymore, or that time period was like not that great for you, but the music still takes you back to that moment, that feeling, that like, yes, like I remember how great it was back then, right? But looking back, you're like, that was horrible. Stuff like that. It's like an unbroken connection. It's very, very interesting. And I love meeting people who understand this dynamic. Whereas there are some people that don't see it on this like depth. But for those that know, y'all know. Now the next one we've already kind of talked about, but in a different way. So the need to sleep. This is a decreased need to sleep. I've already kind of talked about like poor sleep and why you need to like track that and why that's important. But decreased need for sleep. What do you do when you don't need to sleep? What do you do when you're like, I don't need to sleep? Like I have insomnia, right? But let's say you're not diagnosed with insomnia yet, and you are just literally like, it's been 3 days and I can't go to sleep. Like, why can't I sleep? What do you do in those moments? Some people do really bad things, such as continue drinking, smoking, whatever it is to keep them up, maybe do a stimulant, whatever, just to keep them like, let me just stay this way since I can't figure out how to get out of it. That is what you don't want to do, because that is definitely going to bring a crash, and it's going to be such a bad crash. You're going to be like, oh my God, I feel like crap. But I think, at least for me, the best thing to do is to have something creative to do. Now, I hate to say it, but a lot of these people are like streamers, video game people that can edit, people that can, you know, hop on a camera like this, like whatever. Like they have something creative that they can go and like do as an outlet that basically will reward them for what is not necessarily something that should be rewarded for, if that makes sense. I also, at least when I think about what I did as a kid, because obviously as a kid, it was completely different and I couldn't just like hop on YouTube, or at least the time frame I'm thinking about. I read books. I read a lot of books. I was a bookworm as a kid. Junie B. Jones was my girl, okay? I would read for hours if I couldn't go to sleep. I don't even think they diagnose kids with insomnia, so that's another piece of the puzzle there. So the reason I say this in general is just, again, decreased need of sleep. Just figure out what you do or need to do that will be benefiting you in the long run if you can't sleep, opposed to forcing yourself to try to sleep and be regular and go crazy. I'm not saying stay up for a week straight and completely fry your brain. Absolutely not. But try to find things you can do that will give you that return on investment, because I feel like there are so many things I could have done in the past that I just didn't realize I could do, because I just thought like, oh, let me just put this with something that correlates with this, meaning staying out with my friends all night or like going to a club, right? Like these are not things that would give you a good return on investment. So if you can do something else, maybe like, I'm not leaving the house for 3 days until I write a book, until I write a short book. Since I can't sleep, I'm not going to leave my house until I'm done with this book. Things like that, right? If you can do that, oh my God, if I could go back and tell myself to do that, Jesus, oh my God. But yeah, so things of that nature. But again, if you don't know you have a disorder, it's going to be very hard for you to even like do what I'm saying right now. So this is why I wanted to make this video. The next one, which I think is, I definitely do think it's a symptom. See, like part of me thinks like, oh, well, you know, there are some normal people that could just, you know, think that way. But I do think this is a symptom. And this is being preoccupied with death. The reason that I am saying it like this and not suicide and not suicidal thoughts is because there are people who I guess they would consider themselves Starseeds or New Age. I don't know what word to use, but you know, the people that are very in the near-death experience world, or they are very much into the spiritual world, whatever, and maybe they're a tarot card reader and the death card comes up, and then they start explaining how the death card isn't terrible and it means new beginnings and blah 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 blah, like stuff like that, right? Being preoccupied with death, but not in the way of like, I want to die, but understanding death, wanting to know it more, wanting to figure it out. Do we go to heaven? Do we go to hell? Do we not? Like all of these things. So this could be in like religion, this could be spiritual, like all of these pockets of being preoccupied with death can be in so many different pockets. Well, clearly this pastor is preoccupied with death because he wants to make sure that people go to heaven. That would be like another version of being preoccupied with death. And most people with mental illnesses, obviously, those that are not in that realm would say, well, yeah, of course they're mentally ill. Like they believe in a God that's not there, or they believe in a Jesus that's never walked or whatever, right? So there are people on this earth that will definitely be like, well, yeah, obviously they have a mental illness because that's what they believe. So that alone, being preoccupied with death. There are some people who are like, I don't want to think about it. I want to live forever. I don't want to think about how I'm going to die. Like for me, it's just never been that way at all whatsoever. And I think it's because I have a very strong faith that like I'm not just here to be here. And then like, for example, there's some people who believe like, oh, I'm human now, and then after I die, I'm like going to be in heaven or hell, and I'm going to be living out whatever I did as a human on this earth or whatever. If anything, I'm just a spiritual being having a human experience on this earth. Or some people don't believe that, right? So it just depends on the conversation, but I love when I'm around people that are not afraid to talk about it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's hard to find these people though, because there are some people that haven't looked at themselves that deeply to even want to know, like, you know, if somebody were to ask you, like, do you believe that you're going to go to heaven or are you going to go to hell? Like, even that question alone can get people a little like, oh, like, wait, hold up. I didn't want to look in the mirror today like that. You know what I mean? So I think it just depends, but I love it. I love it. I love having the conversation because I think it's just one of those things that's like, it's inevitable. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter how I feel. You're going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die. So why are y'all so scared to talk about it? I don't know. That's just me though. That's just me. And I'm going to leave y'all with the last symptom, because this symptom, we're going to have a whole video on it separately. I really want to meet more people that talk about this symptom, and not in the way of the tarot cards and the spiritual. Like, no, I want at least on a serious level, not like a somebody's going cuckoo level, right? So this is the connections of angel numbers. This would be the 222s, the 111s, the 555s, the 333s, or the 11, or the 1717, or the 6262, whatever it is, right? Those angel numbers. That is something that I believe people with this disorder are very much on the ball to see the connections and where they lie, how they're there, why they're there, opposed to other people that just ignore it. They just completely ignore the numbers, and it's not really a big deal because it's like, why would I give a damn about that number? Like, it's just a number on a car. Who cares? It doesn't really mean anything. Whereas other people will see that as like, no, that's a calling, that's a spiritual guide, that's an angel, that's whatever it is. And it's definitely happened to me on many occasions. So I find it to be a phenomenon that so many people know about, talk about, but also it's like kind of taboo. It's still kind of taboo. It's really interesting. The men out there that can't talk about it because they're just going to be deemed crazy. And I'm just like, oh my, I would love to have a conversation with a man about that. Like, I would love a man to come and be like, yeah. Another great example. So we are at the light, and as you can see, there's two Lincolns there. One has a 99 and the one in front of me has a 66. And of course the Lexus to the left has a 22. Just wanted to show an example. So I was in the airport, and then one of the numbers that passed me was like 555. And I was just like, oh, that's weird. And then I went to like another airplane, and then the other airplane was 55. And I was like, that's weird. Why am I seeing both those numbers? I would love to have a conversation with a man just to see like what they think it is. Because Oh my god, it's so weird. Obviously, if you've read bipolar disorder or waking up, I believe, if you've read that, then obviously you're gonna completely understand what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about people that just really don't understand this side of the world or this corner and try to figure it out on their own. Like I would love to see that, because wow, the way you can actually go pretty effing crazy if you don't know what it is. If you don't start looking it up, you can go pretty crazy. Like, what is going on? What is this? People will be like, no, that's God, that's an angel. Especially if you go a little bit deeper into figuring out what it is. But it's still a phenomenon. It's still pretty weird. It's still something that people don't like to say is real, in my opinion, but I think it's pretty real. Speaking of, how did that door even open? I closed it. I know y'all saw me close this door. I closed that door. That noise is driving me insane. Like, I know closing the door is not gonna do anything, but oh my god. See, this is why I don't like talking about spiritual stuff, because stuff like this happens and I'm like, I know I closed that door. We're gonna end the video here because I know I closed that door. Because the damn smoke detector is going off again, even though I had it fixed, and now it's going off again. So I went over there and closed it, and now I'm talking about angel numbers and the door just opens up. What? This would be another symptom of uncertainty and anxiety and paranoia all together happening as we speak, because I closed that door. And when I'm editing this video, I'm going to show that I closed that door, because I know I closed that door. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on this video. I'm out of here. I will most likely make another video of really random symptoms of bipolar disorder. But for now, those are the ones that I know I closed that door. So for now, those are the ones, but there are so many more. Let me know if you liked them. Let me know your thoughts on this door behind me that just randomly opened. Let me know what you think about that, because what was that? How did it even open anyway? Like, I slammed it closed. Where is the sage at? I literally slammed it. I slammed it. I went like... And there's stuff behind it that would make it even harder. That would make it even harder to open. Hi, y'all. How did it open? Not me really like getting a paranoia symptom on camera, because literally, how did that door open? How did it open, huh? Now this sage is barely, it's not even burning. Okay, there it is. I was like, why is this sage not burning? Who is in here? Because like I said, I know I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And if anything, I know my spiritual team is hilarious. I know they're comedians everywhere. Guaranteed. They are just doing stuff just to giggle and laugh. Like, we gotta make her laugh so that when she dies and comes back, it's just gonna be so funny. We're just all gonna be laughing so hard. How was your experience on Earth, Pearl? Meanwhile, I won't even have a name. Bye, y'all. Bye. Because what the hell was that?
Pulling out the coupe in the lot, 12 for SWAT, busting all the bells out the box, hit a lick with the top.
Ain't it fun living in the real world? Maybe for you, Paramore. Maybe for effing you. Just kidding. I love you, but ain't it fun? No, it's not that fun. Living in the real world. Ain't it fun? Now it's not. It's not. It is not that fun, but it is a great song. 'Cause ain't it fun being all alone? Am I alone though? Because I know I closed that door.